or illness condition. Please consult your physician, psychiatrist, or psychotherapist for personal matters.
Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inner Voice Show. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, psychotherapist, author, and the originator of the Awareness Integration Theory. And hello to Sean, our director in the studio. This is a show about what matters most in our life, our mind, our thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships, and our fulfillment in this beautiful journey of life. Today, I will share with you the tip of the week about appreciation and gratitude for all. And then I'll bring you Todd Nyholm. He is a somatic therapist specializing in an undeniable relationship between mind and body. Through his Nightality Life method, he offers the solutions to live a happier, healthier life. Today, we will be talking about his latest book. It's called Brain, Why Do You Trouble Me So Much? Then in the Ask Me segment, I'll share with you what we can do as an act of kindness with the gift of listening. And it's an answer to someone's question. And then I will chat with Simon Drew. He's an Australian poet, a musician, a wildflower enthusiast, and an alignment coach. Since 2017, he has hosted the Practical Stoic podcast, which now it's called Walled Garden Podcast. He's the author of The Poet and the Sage, and we're going to have an awesome conversation together. So I ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast. Connect with me through Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Go to foojanzeine.com and message me. I'd love to hear from you. And ask me questions, give me suggestions, and I'm waiting for you. And I appreciate you. But first, here's the tip of the week.
Hello, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and a life coach for the past 30 years, and I'm the originator of the Awareness Integration Therapy. I'd love to be able to support you in any matters of life that shows up for you that you need support. So call me at 818-648-2140. I am available to do online therapy or coaching, anyone who's around the world. And you can also join me in my office in San Clemente, California, if you like to come to the office. So call me at 818-648-2140 or go to foojan.com. I look forward to hearing from you and having the opportunity to support you in things that are in your life and you just want to excel and create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at foojan.com or amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it. This is to all of you therapists, counselors, coaches, and teachers out there, offering you my latest book, Awareness Integration Therapy. Clear the past, create a new future, and live a fulfilled life now. Every person that reaches out to a psychotherapist, a counselor, or a coach is seeking to learn skills that can be utilized daily to foster a successful and fulfilling life. So this book offers an effective tool to all psychotherapists and coaches for supporting their clients to become aware of their inner process and to be accountable for it, as well as the results in all areas of their lives with the utmost level of care and acceptance. This is a must-read for all of you clinicians and coaches who desire to offer a deep therapeutic work in a brief period of time suited for this era.
This is the tip of the week. Last Thursday in the United States was Thanksgiving, a day was a good excuse that we allow ourselves to feel and share our gratitude for who we are, the people who are around us, all the results we created, and the gifts that have been given to us by others. We were born into our bodies, a gift that was given to us. Have we been grateful and treated our body well, or did we destroy it? Amazing people have come into our lives. Have we cherished and valued and appreciated them? Do we experience every moment to the fullest and allow ourselves to get immersed into our present moments? Do we appreciate and honor the earth that we live in and act toward flourishing it? Well, let's choose to appreciate it all. So I wanted to also appreciate you. I want to thank you for being in my life. I appreciate my body for being healthy and for the past 60 years, even though I haven't always been nice or have not always been nurturing it. I appreciate my husband for his unconditional love and service and allowance of me just being me. I appreciate my family and the flow of love and acceptance. And I appreciate the vast amount of friends who have come to my life with gifts of their love, their presence, joy, and wisdom. I appreciate all of my colleagues for collaborating and allowing me to learn from all of them. And I appreciate all my teachers, mentors in the field of psychology, all of my therapists, and all the field of psychology, spirituality, and life. I appreciate my clients for allowing me the privilege of being in their life. I learn so much from every single one of them daily. I appreciate all my students, interns, and mentees who've allowed me the space of sharing with them what I had learned all my life. I appreciate all my social media connections, all of you who are out there for enriching my life with a vast amount of information. I appreciate all the human beings who are on earth for creating an amazing tapestry of rich cultures, innovations, creativity. And I appreciate all the animals who have fed us, loved us, entertained us, and most of all, my little Pomeranian dog, which his name is Spock, Mr. Spock, for bringing love and joy and play to my life. And I appreciate the earth for housing us with the richness of variety, diversity, creation, and abundance. And I appreciate every moment that I'm alive, awake, and aware. I appreciate you who are listening, who are viewing all of the podcasts, all of the YouTube channel, all of the shows, all of it. I truly appreciate you. And I love to hear from you. So share with me what you are grateful and appreciate in your life. Thank you.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at foojan.com or amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
This is to all of you therapists, counselors, coaches, and teachers out there, offering you my latest book, Awareness Integration Therapy. Clear the past, create a new future, and live a fulfilled life now. Every person that reaches out to a psychotherapist, a counselor, or a coach is seeking to learn skills that can be utilized daily to foster a successful and fulfilling life. So this book offers an effective tool to all psychotherapists and coaches for supporting their clients to become aware of their inner process and to be accountable for it, as well as the results in all areas of their lives with the utmost level of care and acceptance. This is a must-read for all of you clinicians and coaches who desire to offer a deep therapeutic work in a brief period of time suited for this era. Hello, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and a life coach for the past 30 years, and I'm the originator of the Awareness Integration Therapy. I'd love to be able to support you in any matters of life that shows up for you that you need support. So call me at 818-648-2140. I am available to do online therapy or coaching, anyone who's around the world. And you can also join me in my office in San Clemente, California, if you like to come to the office. So call me at 818-648-2140 or go to Foojan.com. I look forward to hearing from you and having the opportunity to support you in things that are in your life and you just want to excel and create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I am excited to be with Todd Nyholm. He is a somatic therapist specializing in the undeniable relationship between mind and body. His studies have made him an expert in many types of therapy, from visceral manipulation and craniosacral to acupressure, shiatsu, and reflexology. And I love reflexology. Love the other ones, but this one. Todd has run a somatic therapy practice since 2002 and continues his holistic education at the renowned South Florida Barrow and Upledger Institute. Through his Nightality life method, he offers the solution to live a healthier and happier life. Today, we are going to talk about his latest book, Oh, Brain, Why Do You Trouble Me So Much? Welcome to the show, Todd.
Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking to you and talking about my favorite subject.
Yeah, so first, please explain to our audience, what do you do as a somatic therapist?
So we use that term somatic therapist, and it's a bit of a catch-all term for all the different kinds of work we do, which is some of what you named there, and it doesn't fit on a business card and no one knows what they mean. But the somatic part refers to the body. And so when I work with people, I'm working with their body. And so if you watch me work, you'd see me use my hands and fingers and knuckles, and then I'm talking to them and helping them address some of the things that are kind of the connection between the mind and the emotions in the body, but directly through the body, as opposed to, say, through the mind or the emotions that way.
It's amazing. I've had many of the experiences with body work, and it's interesting that I've had a lot of not only emotions come up, but memories come up. So it seems like body really holds a lot of memory, the muscular and cellular memory. Sometimes it shows up as you work with the body. And I've heard even people have had an experience of, if anybody believes, the past life regression and memories that have shown up for them. Can you share a bit about that and how the body holds memories?
Sure, it's really an interesting idea. And when you start working with people in their body and they start talking about it, or you go through the process yourself, it's really amazing how interconnected we are. And so we somehow kind of think that our mind is over here and our emotions are kind of over there and our body's over there, but they're really interconnected. And if you start working through an area of body where, let's say, there was trauma, let's say you took a heavy fall or an accident and you're really emotional at that time and it kind of damaged your neck. And someone like me goes through and works through that neck, often those memories will come back up and they'll kind of waken back up and the emotions will come with it. And some of that can be really old. You'd be like, well, when did I feel this? And you realize it was when you were 2 or when you were 1, or maybe in the case of past life, if you believe in that. And so there's a lot of really interesting things that come up. And I've noticed for a lot of people, they've been through a lot of therapy, but they can't quite get over that next step. And then if you work through their body and you kind of work it out that way, all of a sudden they feel this major relief in that combination of something like talk therapy and then working through the body.
Yes, it's definitely an amazing combination when the two of them are together. I work also with a lot of, I've been a therapist for 30 years, and I've worked a lot with people in trauma. And you could see that even, like, for example, people who were physically abused, that as you work even through the psychological aspect, that their body starts showing, that their skin even starts showing, or the part of that the body that was being abused necessarily starts shaking. And so in order to release all of those, so it works whether we work through the body or the other side of being aware of how much these are connected. Todd, you have created Nytality Method. So can you share a little bit about Nytality Method? I know that it is centered to consciously building your entire life around your health. So could you share a bit about that?
Sure, it's ultimately the outgrowth of trying to heal myself. So I had some significant health problems from when I was a kid, and I also went through some significant trauma when I was a kid with a serial killer that lived down the street from me. And so I had a lot of things that I needed to work through and kind of figure out. And it took me decades to find a doctor who could help me with some of the infections that I had, and a good therapist that I walked through, some of what happened to me when I was a kid. But over all those years, I was trying to heal myself and trying to figure out things on my own. And I was like, well, if I can't find help, then I'll figure it out on my own. And so I was looking at everything I could find. And even if it was 4,000 years old and it was like, hey, and 4,000 years ago, we used this method to help people, I would try it. And so over time, I put that all together. And a lot of it really was that process of trying to figure it out for myself. And then when I got old enough to choose a career and I got into some of the alternative and holistic ways of looking at health, I kind of put that all together. And then when I was working with my clients, I wanted more to be able to give them. So I can only work with one person at a time with my hands, but with a book or with a podcast, with information and classes, I can reach way more people and share more of what I have. And a lot of what's in the books and what I'm trying to teach, it's work that you can do on yourself and work that connects your mind and your emotions and your body, and in some ways your energies, so that you can kind of change everything about yourself over time in a systemic or systematic way. So.
You also talk about synergistic harmony within your system. Can you share about what synergistic harmony is?
Kind of hard to say that, isn't it? Yeah, and it's really that idea of how everything fits together in the best way we can make it work. So let's say I'm working someone at the clinic and I can tell they've had, let's say, sexual trauma in their past. I might really spend a lot of time working through their nervous system and getting their hips and lower back to open up and heal, so that I can help get a couple different things connected in their body, mind, and emotions, like I've been kind of saying a few times here. And so it's really the idea of how do you get as much of you working in the same direction to help you feel better and have a better life as you can.
I remember, I was sexually molested between ages 3 and 8. And I remember I could not go to a massage therapist at all. I was going to do some energy work. I think it was Reiki or one of the energy work. And I remember I told the therapist, the energy therapist, that for some reason I just shared with her, I said, don't touch my body. I don't like it. So then she started kind of creating safety for me and then started touching. So as long as she was touching up in this area, I was fine. And then as she started touching my hip, literally, Todd, I left and I went into my eyes only. Yeah. And every part of my body was just completely numb. And she said, you just went cold. Like there's no energy in your body. There's no heat in your body. And I said, I told you not to touch my body. So, beautifully she worked through and brought me back and, kind of worked through. And this was really an amazing experience where from there on, not only that I got massages, I got them every week, and it really changed my life in a sense of coming back and integrating that whole system. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I really think our systems have amazing ways of protecting us, and some of the things that happened to us when we were kids in terms of, sexual abuse, which I went through too. And I had a similar experience when I started working through my body and some of the things that happened. And so we have these protective mechanisms, and then we can kind of get stuck there, like if we don't have a good way out. And so working all these different things together, your mind and your emotions and your body, you can really open those things kind of back up and reclaim more of who and what you are. And because you don't need those protective memories, there's protective mechanisms that you had. So working back through them can open up a whole bunch of doors, and then it can bring a lot of life back to you and make you feel a lot more comfortable in your body. And that will change how you see yourself and your current relationships so they can be healthier and more fulfilling.
Absolutely. Now we keep talking about body, but the name of your book is, Brain. Why do you troubles me so much? Yeah. So share about how come you have that title for your book.
So when I was making all the methods that I needed to put together, I realized I needed more than just what I was doing with the body. And so as I put things together for myself, a lot of it was mental methods and emotional methods and things that you can do in your body, even if you can't move it. And some of that is my experience with that serial killer. He would kind of lock me up in the basement. And I was like, well, what do you do when you can't even move? You can't even control where your body is. And so the methods in that book, you could even do under that kind of circumstance. And that's where I learned some of that, was trying to healthily and in any way get myself through what was going on at the time. And so that book is meant to be really big picture. It's meant to be really broad and open so you can change a bunch of different areas of your life. And then I'll stack more things underneath it with different books and trainings, things you can do with your body and real specific methods. But that book was really meant to connect them all. And so it's really big and broad. And like I said, you can use it if you're terribly sick and you can't get out of bed for 6 months, which is a situation I was in, or the one I mentioned before. So it can be really applicable in lots of different ways. So the title makes me laugh, it's just like, why are you messing with me so much, brain? How do I figure this out? And so the methods in there are really my answer to that question, at least for myself. And it's worked for a lot of people I work with. And so I'm trying to share it with as many people as I can.
Beautiful. You also wrote another book that is about food, right?
I did.
So you started with body and food and nurturing our body, and then expanded your work in about how to heal the body and how to kind of synergize your brain, your thoughts, your emotion, and your body together in order to create that type of healing and coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And I also kind of needed to learn how to write. And so it was a little easier to write a book on food and diet. And I had used the method in that book to lose about 60 pounds. And so I figured a lot of people could use that. And it's really sort of a mental and emotional way of looking at food and the tendencies for eating, and gives kind of a method to get out of that. And so I started there because it gave me a chance to figure out how I was talking about it. And I kind of went from one extreme with the body to the other with sort of as intangible as I could kind of get at the time. And then I'm cross-linking them all as I go.
So when you look at the whole system, right? You, for example, in your chapters in the book, Oh Brain, Why Do You Trouble Us So Much? You talk about how to look at the brain, how to become aware of the thought process, and then create an expansion in a sense. So can you share what you mean by expansion?
Yeah, expansion is interesting because I think we limit ourselves in our own experience of how we, like, minute by minute feel ourselves, because often people are stuck in a thought process, or they're stuck in an emotion, or maybe they're stuck in their body doing something. And so one of the things I really want to get across to people is that you can change your awareness of yourself, and you become, in your own experience, much more expanded and bigger. And it gives you a bunch of potential that you didn't know you had, because often it's been limited since you were a kid, because you were taught certain things when you were younger, and you believed them to be true because you were 4 and someone who's an authority told you. And when you start to work with yourself in a little different way, and you start to really watch what thoughts are going by, kind of observing, not in a judgmental way, just watching them, so there's a little distance between you and them. And then you start doing that with your emotions, and you start getting into your body more so that it pulls you out of those areas, it can really change how you feel. And then you expand a little bit in how you sense yourself. And once you do that, you can see all these little areas that you want to change. You're like, ooh, I don't have to think this way anymore. That worked when I was 11 and now I'm 43. It doesn't work anymore, or these emotions I learned from my dad. So we only have two. We only have anger and frustration and suppression, and that's it, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I'd really like to experience joy or ecstasy or salubriousness, or all these interesting words that we have for emotions that maybe a lot of people haven't experienced. And so your sense of yourself and then your sense of yourself in your environment really begins to expand into something that can become quite beautiful.
You also talk about heart guidance in your book. It's as if I know that a lot of times when we do listen to our body shares with us and guides us toward if something is right for us or not. I remember doing that and learning how to be with food, where you kind of like holding the food and looking at it and even asking your body, is this good for me or not? Is this something that is right for me or not? So many times as we connect with our body, the guidance that it gives us is impeccable because it knows what it wants. And so it will share with us if we're listening. What do you mean by heart guidance? Is that the same thing that the body shares, or is it something else?
No, it's definitely part of that. And when you look at the body and these almost things that we tend to think of as almost sixth sense like, I think there's a lot of different things we could talk about with hunches and intuition and heart guidance and kind of a certainty. And a lot of it is this part of you that's talking that doesn't get a lot of airtime, that sees what's going on around you and picks up on things that you're kind of missing. And so the heart guidance was kind of a way to talk about that. And to introduce the concept that you really do have 40,000 brain-like cells in your heart that actually contribute to the way you think, which is really interesting. And that wasn't discovered until the 90s. And there's some different scientists researching and working on it. But it's the way to actually work and get back into your body so you can actually put your hand over your heart and touch it a little bit when you're trying to make a decision or you're trying to figure out where you are. Or if you're kind of scared, it can bring you back into your body and help you catch back up with yourself. And then often from there, you'll be like, oh, I missed this thing over here. So this is a good decision for me. Or in the case of food, this would be really good for me to eat right now. And my whole food method is based on that. What is the thing I need to be eating now? And at what time should I be eating? And you're kind of feeling your way through it rather than using like a really heavy force mechanic. And so the heart guidance is a way to reconnect with yourself in a whole new way that most of us kind of got trained out of with just paying a lot of attention to our logical mind and memorizing facts in school. And so it's a little bit of reconnecting to yourself and bringing it back out.
I think just to clarify, because I think that a lot of times when we talk about heart, people synonymously think of it as emotions. And then they also state that, okay, if I'm going to have emotions, see, now I'm going to make my decision on an emotional basis. This is not what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing from you that, yes, the wisdom is there, the emotions are there, and they're all messages. But the heart guidance is a different concept than just having an emotion, because a lot of the emotions are also based on some of the thoughts. They're not necessarily a pure, we're not catching all the pure emotions. Many of the emotions and feelings we're catching is also after the thought process has and the belief process has kind of muddled it a little bit. Can you open that concept a bit?
Sure. Emotions are interesting. And a lot of times we can't even define them for ourselves. Like, what am I feeling right now? What combination or cocktail of emotions am I feeling right now? What's my mind doing relative to the emotions? Because you're scared and now your mind isn't working very well. And so while emotions are related to what I'm talking about here, it's almost more of a feeling sense. Like there's a feeling that comes up and it might be something like, I don't feel like I should be here right now. I think I should go somewhere else. And then something happens where you just were, or you're like, normally I would drive home this way. Today I feel like going left instead of right. And then you see someone run a red light in front of you and you're like, some part of me knew that. And maybe it's your subconscious mind sees it coming and it tells you that way rather than in a logical way. There isn't like a component of emotion there where you're like, oh, I'm really, really excited about doing X. I really want to do this thing. It's a big deal for me and I don't know why. And so there can be some positive aspect to that. But you can also have all these emotional habits and things like little buttons that people can push that can drive your behavior that maybe you learned in school or when you were a kid or with your friends or whatever that can get in the way. And so this is another way of kind of connecting to yourself, but not getting lost in your emotions and also not suppressing them. You don't want to like pretend like they're not there. That doesn't help either.
Exactly. In 1 minute, is there anything we haven't said that you really, really want everybody to get to know? about you or your book or method, any of it?
Yeah, I think the thing I like to get across to people is that there's something that's inside them that's bigger than they know. It's a little transcendent. And the thing I'm trying to get at with a lot of my work is helping people get experience and wake up to that, And so the books are a way to get at that. And some of the methods I have and some of the exercises that I'm starting to teach people are all a way to kind of re-wake up who and what you are in a deep way, in kind of a transcendent way. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things that came out of some of the problems I had as a kid or some of the health problems is I really see that clearly, where a lot of people haven't necessarily been pushed into that understanding through some of the things that pushed me there. So I'm hoping to get that across in a little different way.
Beautiful. Thank you for being with us, everyone. Todd Nyholm, and the book, Brain, Why Do You Trouble Me So Much? And you can find that in Amazon or Todd's website. Thank you so much, Todd, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, we'll be right back.
Have you ever wished you could just wake up one day, reach across your nightstand, and hit the life reset button? Let's face it, the struggles and frustrations of everyday life leave millions of women and men around the globe yearning for a new way. And the new way is right here in Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine. You can get it now at Foojan.com or Amazon.com. Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want. You deserve it. This is to all of you therapists, counselors, coaches, and teachers out there, offering you my latest book, Awareness Integration Therapy. Clear the past, create a new future, and live a fulfilled life now. Every person that reaches out to a psychotherapist, a counselor, or a coach is seeking to learn skills that can be utilized daily to foster a successful and fulfilling life. So this book offers an effective tool to all psychotherapists and coaches for supporting their clients to become aware of their inner process and to be accountable for it, as well as the results in all areas of their lives with the utmost level of care and acceptance. This is a must-read for all of you clinicians and coaches who desire to offer a deep therapeutic work in a brief period of time suited for this era.
In the Ask Me segment, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. You guys have sent me amazing questions. One of the questions is, a lady has sent to me, and she has said that I'm confused. I'm very loving. I want to help. I think I'm supporting everybody around my life. My father is very ill, and he keeps saying he wants to go to the country of his origin, although all of our kids are here. But he used to live there most of his life, and he's gotten very sick. And I keep telling him that he should be here around us, and he wants to go back. And then I give to my teenager, and no matter what I think I'm supposed to give, she gets upset. She doesn't want it. She wants something else. I'm confused. Aren't I supposed to be giving? But it seems like no matter how much I'm giving, it's just not working. People around me are not taking me as the gift that I'm giving them. So what's wrong? Should I stop giving? Well, first of all, it's wonderful that you're a giving person, that you care, that you're generous, and you want the best for your family members. It's just that what you want for them is not necessarily what they want for themselves. And maybe if you give them the gift of listening and knowing what it is that makes them happy. If your father says that he's getting older and he wants to go and be among the people of his country of origin, where he has friends, he has built a life, he has built an identity, where wherever he goes, they know him by name, and his history is there, then maybe he wants to die there. and that maybe it's okay. And maybe you can go and visit him there and be with him. And maybe where you are, although you are his child, he's complete with being with you. And he also needs to be with all of his people and not just one of his children. Um, Maybe that's what he needs. So if that is what he's asking at the end of his life, maybe the gift you could give him is what he's asking for. If your teenager is asking for a particular thing, and although what you want for her is best for her, and what you want for her, she might not want for herself yet, and obviously it's good for her, but unless she first looks at the things that she wants and gets it from you, she's not going to be open for you to give her something else. If what she's asking for is not destructive, is not out of the realm of possibility that it can be given to her, well, guess what? Why don't you fulfill that first? And then your gift of giving is going to be in their heart because they gained what they wanted and they get it that you heard them, you've seen them. And that's where the gift came. The gift of listening and seeing people is more than enough, is amazing, more than any other gift that you could give to another human being. And give the gift to yourself of listening to who you are and what's best for you. Because when you don't listen to what your desires are, what your values are, then you're going to be miserable. And you don't deserve to be miserable. You deserve to be happy. And therefore, take care of yourself. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I am Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I am excited to have Simon Drew with me. He's an Australian poet, musician, wildflower enthusiast, and alignment coach. Since 2017, he's hosted the Practical Stoic podcast, which is called now Walled Garden Podcast. And I was a guest there and I loved it. And he has helped thousands of people to find deeper meaning in their lives through the principles found in ancient philosophies like Stoicism. As an alignment coach, Simon has worked with individuals from all around the globe to clarify their own personal ideas and then bring it to their lives into harmony with those ideals. Simon has a Bachelor of Music from Queensland Conservatorium of Music, and he is currently studying a Master of Divinity with the Australian College of Theology. Simon's first book, The Poet and the Sage, is a philosophical, theological, poetic, and mystical deep dive into his own soul. So welcome to our show, Simon.
Foojan, thank you so much. And I have to say, our conversation that we had on my show was one of my favorite, conversations that I've had with anybody. We went for about an hour and a half and just kept on going. And so I've been excited to continue the conversation. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you. Yes, it was a great conversation. And for the audience who are with us, can you please explain Stoicism philosophy in a nutshell very quickly? And I know
Sure.
no pressure at all.
Okay, I'm going to give you the nutshell version that I give to people when they want something very quick, which is essentially that Stoicism is an ancient philosophy from around Greece and Rome, originated in ancient Greece, which basically posits the idea that perhaps the highest goal of life is to live in accordance with or in agreement with nature. When they said nature, it was capital N, meaning the nature of the whole and also the nature of you as an individual, which connects you to the whole, that spark within. And so the way that we get to that living in agreement with nature, according to the Stoics, was by way of the highest possible good that we know of, which is virtue. And so we seek virtue, we seek wisdom. To me, I think that the Stoics were the truest philosophers, because they really lived by the principle of philosophy, which is philosophy literally means lover of wisdom, right? And so the Stoics genuinely loved wisdom, and that's what they were always seeking. And so I always tell people, if you want to know what Stoicism is, go out and seek wisdom with a genuine open heart to see what you find. That's what the Stoics were doing. So if you want to live like a Stoic, seek wisdom honestly.
And there's a lot of conversation of choice and integrity and listening to yourself and being in a space with yourself, which is kind of your thought process can become aligned with your behavior. Isn't that what I'm also understanding from Stoicism?
Absolutely. And this has a lot to do with what I try to do with my clients, because I never want people to think that with my coaching, I'm just going to upload a whole bunch of, stoic ideas on them and say, live like this, but ultimately what I'm trying to help people with is to get really clear on who it is that they believe they could be if they really decided to live a life of integrity and live according to their values. And then I try to help them to bring their values together into, an embodied experience, because I always feel, and I have felt like this all throughout my life, and you might agree, it's just when you're living out of agreement with your core principles, it's like that's when things really start to get hairy. That's when we really start to go off track, and you can feel that. But I try to teach people how to feel, how to know what that feeling is when you're coming into agreement with those core principles that you hold. And that's really when we find deep satisfaction and meaning in life, is when we know that, the person who we say we are, or the person who we present to the outer world is kind of actually becoming who we are, not just a face or a mask that we put on.
I love what you just said, because I do agree. And, 30 years of working with people, including myself, it's very true when we talk about value system that people hold on kind of like a booklet of value system that they judge others by. And it's like, and if you ask what kind of value do you hold, they will recite all of those values. But then when they start, open their eyes in the morning and they act upon whatever shows up in their life between them and the world, many times they don't act based on those values. And when they look at it, they will always have some sort of a justification, right? We always have some sort of a justification to say, well, I know that this is the value, but because of such and such and such, I had to let go of that value and I had to do the other behavior. And you are absolutely right. And that's where agony comes in. That's where suffering comes in. That's where many times the, being split comes in, and we're not united in the space that we could say that. And anxiety creeps in consistently, and then shame creeps in because we are not part of, acting upon our value. And when we are, when we kind of, you could say, so many percentages, and every day going higher and higher in that percentage of aligning those values with our behaviors, that the life fulfillment and bliss shows up.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I don't want people to be under any illusion. It's like, even if you live by your core principles, life is going to throw some terrifying challenges your way, perhaps even more, because it is difficult to live an examined life of philosophy, where we are actually taking account of our actions every single day. But, I think Seneca said something really beautiful, because I try to manage my coaching in many ways like Seneca would have talked to his student, right? Because what he said, he said, well, look, you might say to me, what, Seneca, are you so perfect that you're giving out all of this advice to everybody and telling everybody else how to live? And Seneca said, no. I am a patient in the same hospital as you, in the bed next to you, talking to you about how we're both getting better. Seneca, was a doctor of the soul, really. He talked about the illness of the soul. And that's really what is happening when we live out of agreement with our core values. It's an illness of the soul when we get, when we get addicted to things, or when we get into terrible habits that just keep on repeating and repeating and repeating. This is an illness of the soul that needs to be cured. And I believe that the best way that we can cure that is through deep engagement with philosophical principles that enable us not to only be, you don't want to be like a casual moralizer over yourself. You're terrible because you did this. You're terrible because you did that. that's the wrong way to go about it. Let's talk philosophically about these things and figure out why it might be wrong that you did that and why you might have something better to move towards. What would that thing be that would be better to move towards? And how can you move towards that in the healthiest way? And this is one other thing I'll add, which is, I say the healthiest way because I love this principle that Epictetus gives. He says the core of personal development is going to come from two things. One, self-scrutiny, and the second one is self-kindness. They both have to go together. I think that most people have the self-scrutiny right down because they're constantly beating themselves up. I'm terrible. I can't believe I didn't do this. So that's why when most of my clients come to me, I say, we're probably going to be working on the second part, the self-kindness, so that you can actually give yourself the room to grow, the space to move into a different way of being, and to not just become this tyrant over yourself, which so often happens, especially with a very ascetic philosophy like Stoicism. You can very easily fall into the traps of just beating yourself up constantly.
Absolutely. So share with me what the book came from, The Poet and the Sage. Is it more of like what the process you had gone with yourself internally that turned into a book and the poetry?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting comment. Was it a process that I went through myself internally that turned into poetry? Of course, there's an element of that. I think for me, having now read through it multiple times to edit it, and then I keep on looking back at it. That's a really open question to me. How much of this book is the internal journey that I've gone on coming out in my poetry? But I guess what I often tell people about The Poet and the Sage is that when I started writing last year, because I've wanted to write a book for a long time, and since I started the Practical Stoic, now the Walled Garden podcast, I always thought that I was going to write some sort of personal development book or a book about Stoicism. Here's your 10 steps how to live the best life, based on this philosophy. And when I started writing, that's not what happened at all. Because at the time that I started writing, I was really trying to figure out, not what I think I want to write, but perhaps let me see what I naturally write. Let's see what happens. And what started coming out when I started writing was poetry and prose and, dealing with theological issues, wrestling with God, wrestling with philosophy, and, what does it mean to have wisdom and virtue and all of these sorts of things. And so what ended up coming out was this very strange, esoteric, mystical experience that got blurted out onto the page, and it kind of freaked me out because it really showed me I have no idea who I am. If I thought that I was going to write one thing and then all this comes out. And I'll tell you, Foojan, I never read poetry. I was never interested in poetry. In fact, me writing this book was my first introduction to the love of poetry, because then I started reading poets and I started thinking, yeah, this is what I've been supposed to do all this time. And the funny thing is, my dad is a beautiful poet. He would write poems for, and he still does, for all of our family members. And, so I grew up with him being an absolute wordsmith, but I never paid attention to that. So in a way, this book even introduced me to my father, because it's like, oh, that's passing on through me now. So I think when it comes to, what is the poet and the sage, I'm participating in a tradition of, deep metaphor, symbolism, poetry, mysticism in this book, and wrestling with really fundamental questions about what it means to well, here's the ultimate thing that I think I'm wrestling with in this book. It's our ability as human beings to commune with what is most divine about us and everything. And so that's really my strange esoteric message for those who are interested in what the Poet and Sage is about. That's what you'll get in it, I hope.
Can we hear?
Absolutely.
Of the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me see. I think I will read. Actually, I'm going to read something that you'll only get in the hardcover version of the book, right? So what I've done with The Poet and the Sage is I've designed the book in such a way that you'll get things in the hardcover that you won't get anywhere else. And I wanted to do that because for me personally, I really want people holding this book in their hands, because it's a beautiful design. And that, to me, like when I get a book, I want it to be beautiful, solid, I want to feel inspired as I hold it as well. So what I put in the hardcover version is somewhat of a prayer for those who read the book, hopefully inspiring them to sit with it and spend the time and to see what they get out of it. So I might read that. So this is called May All. May all who read these words be guided, even that they might see and hear and feel and know. May all who linger with these words be shown the secrets which are now hidden, even that they might know the nature of all things. May all who sit with these words and what they have learned gain in wisdom, even that they might be as lanterns in the darkness. May all who have seen and have heard and felt and known carry these words to those who would receive them well. May all who have been shown the secrets which were once hidden reflect the glory of the One. May all who have awoken from their dream now be clean and rise, even that their own spark might become as a burning flame for all to see. So that's my little prayer for those who are reading it. And I think, so I'm now doing the Walled Garden podcast, and this is also a community. And there's two people who I've brought on board as mentors for myself and the rest of us, and they'll be doing the podcast with me. One is Kai Whiting, a wonderful philosopher who you know, and the other is Sharon LaBelle. She's a wonderful author from the United States. She's actually done more for me than anyone to help me to understand what it is that I'm writing. And so when I say prayer, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Sharon, she would read what I was writing and she would hear what I was saying. And she said to me one day, I think you've just read a prayer. And I thought, okay, she knows a lot more than I do about these things. So that's what that was, I think.
And I love prayers. I love the way that they sit with the heart. It's almost like when the person who's stating the prayer, they are truly stating it from every cell of their body, and their gift is coming out. And I think people who hear it, it gets tingling because that gift is sitting in every single part of their body. So I think that's the beauty of the intention of giving the gift and wishing well for people in all the aspect that is there. So it was beautiful. And may all of you get the Poet and the Sage book from Simon Drew. Simon, where can they find your book?
So we are looking to get it out there very soon to the major retailers. However, at the moment, they can get it from thewalledgarden.com. And so there's a store on there where they can purchase it.
Beautiful. If there's anything that we haven't said and you really want people to know about you, about your beliefs, your book, your podcast, what would it be?
I'm probably more inclined to give a message that is constantly weighing on my heart these days, which is that we do live in an extremely challenging, complicated time. When a couple of years ago, I decided that I was going to leave my job as a gym manager and go kind of full time in the podcast and coaching and everything that's happened since then. One of the reasons that I stated on the podcast was that I believed that the 20s were going to bring some of the biggest opportunities, but also some of the biggest challenges that humanity has ever seen. And I wanted to participate in that in a fuller way with every part of myself. Didn't feel like I was doing it as a gym manager, which is fine. A lot of people will. But personally, I felt like there was something else I had to offer. I left my job, and then 2 weeks later, Australia gets locked down with COVID. And I'm thinking, okay, the challenges are starting, all of the craziness has ensued since then. And I keep on thinking, we do live in an extremely complicated time. The challenge of our time, I believe the ultimate challenges of our time is for people to awaken from the old dream and to rediscover deeper and deeper levels of meaning in their lives. And that takes that's a real adventure. It's a real adventure for us all to go on, whether it is individually or, as communities. And so I think, what I'm trying to do with the Walled Garden Project as the site and also the podcast is to welcome people into that adventure that I'm going on, seeking deeper meaning through philosophy and theology. And I just hope that people do the same. I hope that they go on that adventure to rediscover what life could be, if we're all able to come to a deeper connection with what it is that we're all doing here, I guess.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Simon Drew, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning in Australia to be with us.
It's my favorite time, Foojan. Thank you so much for having me.
And everyone, go to wallgarden.com, not only to hear and be a part of the podcast, but also get the book, The Poet and the Sage. Thank you so much. For all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.